Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the next 15, 20 minutes and talk about how AR is fundamentally upending today's service operating model. But before I get into the presentation itself, I'm going to start with a bit of a factoid. And the factoid is this: 4.3 million users, or 4.3 million people. Any sort of a guess, a rough guess as to what that number represents? I mean, the hint over there is from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I was alarmed when I saw this number, and the number is, this is the number of people that not just were let go, but these guys resigned voluntarily in the month of August. So this is, people are calling this the Great Resignation, they're calling it the Great Reshuffle. But 4.3 million people leaving the workforce is obviously contributing to a major labor shortage. And now if you add this to the fact that 50% of the industry workforce is going to retire over the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, that's a major number. And all of this is going to be contributing to the labor shortages that we see. Skills gap is a big, big issue. In fact, we were having dinner with one of the CEOs of a major IT services company, and their number one goal is reducing skills gap. They hired 70,000 people over the last 6 months. And in order to get to those 70,000 people, they probably interviewed about 300,000 people. So talent acquisition becomes the number one priority for a lot of the C-levels out there. Now, where all of this is going is that if you take a step back and look at the state of the service experience today, because naturally as people leave, that starts impacting service experience. Where all of this is going is that there are a lot of inefficiencies that are creeping in. Things like, and I think a lot of us have experienced this, that when you reach into enterprises with a problem, with a product or whatever, the natural reaction is you start seeing this. 1 out of 3 calls results in a truck roll. That's about 33% of people being dispatched, service employees being dispatched to fix issues. Now, on top of that, a field visit, cost of an on-site visit, anywhere from $200 to $1,400. I mean, that is pretty significant. I mean, this depends on the industry that you're in. But we've seen telco is a big example where sometimes there are 2, sometimes there are 3 people that are being dispatched, and that adds up. $1,400 is a big number. Now, CareAR is a Xerox company, we actually did a survey. We did a survey to figure out what the day in the life of a field tech looks like. What is that voice of the field tech? And we saw that field techs want to do an amazing job. They want to help solve problems for their customers. But it's tough for them. It's hard for them to find the right information, skills gap, major issue. What do? They call their team members to be able to connect to them and get the right problems resolved, right? They use consumer tools like FaceTime, like WhatsApp, but it's hard. It's tough for them to connect to the right people and get their jobs done. The natural result with all of this is that it starts affecting customer satisfaction. 51% of consumers today cancel their contracts. Why? Because they're not happy with the level of service that they're getting. So it behooves on us to figure out how we can reinvent, we as a community, we as an industry can reinvent the service experience management. So what does that look like? What does reinventing service experience management look like? And here's the fundamental premise, guys. You no longer can look at service experience and customer experience in 2 different silos. We believe that these 2 worlds are coming together, and this is happening right now. And what's forming is this layer, this space called service experience management, SXM. This fundamentally believes that the thought or the paradigm behind SXM is that the key to customer success is empowering the service employee, putting the customer and the service employee in the center of that digital experience. And as you can see over there, SXM is a layer we believe sits on top of the service lifecycle management platforms, the likes of ServiceNow. CareAR and ServiceNow have an amazing relationship. We have a strategic partnership between both the companies. But regardless, if you look at all of those companies below, those are service lifecycle management platforms. And the role of service lifecycle management platforms is to make sure that the right people are assigned to the right jobs with the right skill, and they go to site, they appear on site with the right parts, right? They're amazing in terms of workflows. But the thing that's missing is what happens when the tech actually appears on site to fix the issues. You need to be enabling these people with the right tools so that they can resolve the problems and get the problems resolved much quickly, right? So that's the premise of SXM. Now, when you start looking at double-clicking SXM, what does SXM consist of, right? And that's what I want to break into a little bit of how we at CareAR talk about SXM. What is that SXM platform look like? There's a lot of enabling tech that fires up and enables SXM. AR, AI, IoT, content. We'll talk about that here in a second. But fundamentally, what it is that you need to be looking at this entire spectrum of service experiences. Not just when a problem happens, because that's more of a reactive service experience. So we need to be looking at the totality of the service experience, and that is reactive, proactive, self-solve. That's the core of SXM. But there are 4 key pillars of service experience management. It starts with empowering the frontline worker and service desk. That's the first piece of it. What do I mean by that? Problem happens in the field, someone reaches into a service desk, someone calls L1 support. And that's when the L1 agent could leverage augmented reality, have a very simple collaborative session, drop augmented reality annotations stuck on 3D physical objects, as you can see over there. AR, 3D annotation, that becomes a very key piece to this so that, again, problems can be resolved quickly because you have an expert guiding you through what needs to be done. You want to be able to do this in an integrated fashion with service management platforms like ServiceNow. You want to be able to extend this to whatever device type you have. It could be mobile, it could be wearables, it could be drones. So CareAR today made a major announcement. We extended our capabilities to drones. And so the idea is that you're now enabling frontline workers, service desk agents with all of these capabilities. So that's the first pillar. That's more reactive. Now let's talk proactive, right? This is where you're talking about connected insights. You're talking about getting that contextual intelligence from various sources. This could be when was the product last serviced? What are the outstanding tickets? Or it could be even from IoT sensors, information being fed in so that then you can be a lot more proactive in terms of providing service. Self-solve is where it starts getting into the holy grail of things, is what I would say, right? Content. Content is where we at CareAR believe the puck is going, right? This is about creating content, curating content, consuming content, as well as cataloging content. Every interaction that happens between an agent, between an expert, as well as a tech, is creating content. It could be screenshots, it could be videos, it could be all kinds of content, 2D content, 3D content. What we need to do is take a look at that content, synthesize it, tag it, and render it at the right time contextually. That is where CareAR and Xerox is spending a lot of energy to get and solve those problems. Content, content, content. Content is king, right? The next piece, sort of a natural evolution of all of this, again, points back to skills gap, is all about training. We want to make sure that before an issue happens, how do you skill up people? How do you skill up talent so that they can now do things like situational training? They can figure out, using a digital twin, for example, how to resolve issues and follow those procedural instructions before they actually go on site. So integrating with existing LMS systems or even providing LMS systems as a part of the SXM platform, that becomes the sort of missing piece, right? So these are the sort of 4 components of service experience management, right? So where we go with this is that what CareAR has done is we are pulling all of these modalities, we're pulling all of these components into our platform, the CareAR SXM platform. And here's what this includes, right? At the simplistic level, 3 packaged applications. And let me just sort of go through each one of them here just to give you a flavor as to what that is. Let's start off with Assist. Assist is all about providing that remote assistance through an expert who can be located anywhere, right? Using a video call, dropping annotations, could be multi-party video, could be on all kinds of devices, could be on wearables, could be on drones, could be any of those things. But it is a reactive, live visual interaction, right? Fundamental. That's what Assist is. Now, you start looking at Instruct. This is where we start getting into self-solve experiences. The ability for me to go to an MRI machine, as an example, scan the QR code, get all kinds of self-solve instructions that is giving me the procedural instructions to fix issues. So this is another big announcement that CareAR made today. If you guys stop by our booth, you can see this on the expo floor. But this is where the industry is heading. We want to make assets fundamentally intelligent, smart assets, so that why even have a call back into the service desk? The moment a call comes into the service desk, you start losing money. Enterprise started losing money the moment a call is made into the service desk. So Instruct is all about providing self-guided instructions. Insight, on the other hand, goes hand in hand with Instruct. Insight and Instruct kind of go together, and it's all about getting that contextual intelligence, that immediate intelligence where, you know, maybe it's an IoT feed that's feeding data, and I can in real time see what's going on. So Insight and Instruct work together, and they create these amazing self-solve, proactive, predictive experiences. Now, when you take a look at this, take a step back and be like, well, how does all of this make sense for an enterprise? There are a ton of use cases that this starts getting applicable for. And this is much beyond cool tech, because like there's a little bit of that stigma saying, you know, AR, AI, it's all cool tech. But there are fundamental use cases that help drive business outcomes for enterprises. And these are the 4. These are the 4 key use cases that we see day in and day out of where technologies like AR, AI, IoT come into play. Let's start off with the service desk, right? So this is everything that I was talking about. Something happens in the field, call comes into the service desk, the agent offers up a very simple link, click on the link, and you get into an AR call, and you help resolve the issue, you've prevented a truck roll. That in itself is huge, service desk. Second thing is, well, maybe in some cases, the field tech has to be dispatched. You need to change something, or you know, AR can't fix that. A field tech has to be dispatched, right? So this is all about optimizing field support, leveraging tools like AR and other technologies. Number 3 is all about smart assets. I just talked about Instruct. So this is how do you make AR-ready devices, AR-ready, not just printers, this could be AR-ready engines. And then lastly, it's all about training and upskilling, right? I talked about all that skills gap, talked about simulative training, situational training, you know, making sure that, and this is the analogy that we use, how do you get someone who's been on the job for 30 days act with, not just act, but perform at the same level as that of a 30-year technician, 30-year veteran in the field, right? You need training. You need to be able to bridge that skills gap, and AR has profound impact. AR and VR has profound impact in being able to deliver those kinds of use cases, maybe in the form of a digital twin, right? So these are the 4 use cases, guys, where we see day in and day out a lot of lift. A lot of enterprises coming to us saying, how do we solve for these same problems, right? So let's look at a few of these examples. So I talked about applications, manufacturing, right? So this is where manufacturing is all about downtime. It's things about, you know, scrap reduction. Those are the kinds of things that companies within these verticals care about. A manufacturer that I was talking to, they spent $200 million in after-sale product and service support costs. Even a 5% impact of that number is significant for them. Telecom is all about, truck rolls. Or maybe even leveraging drones to fire up a cell phone tower to be able to get not just that intelligence, what's happening, but also be able to optimize some of the delivery that's happening. IT services, wearables, leveraging, you have so many different wearables. Walk down the floor, you're going to see a ton of wearables, right? So smart hands, that's where IT services comes into play. Healthcare, med devices. Your MRI machine is down, you're losing all the money that you can make on scans. So that becomes an important piece. Financial services, point of sale systems, ATM machines, ton of applications. Insurance is all about like workflows and claims processing, optimizing that, leveraging AR technology. And these are not just cool pictures on a slide. These are real use cases that we as CareAR are working with our customers. I'll give you some examples. Here's an example of a C-arm. This is a med device where we're leveraging some of these concepts that I was talking about, where on one side you see a digital twin. You see hotspots, you see instructions, self-guided instructions being served, you see part detection. There's a lot of technology on that left-hand side. And then, when you're not able to resolve issues, that's when you get into a live video session where someone, an expert on the other end, is able to drop annotations and is able to help those problems from being resolved. Here's another example. This is kitchen ovens, right? Obviously, if the oven's down, you're not going to get fed. So restaurants are looking at enabling these kinds of capabilities within their ovens and other places because it prevents downtime, right? Manufacturers are looking at things like this. Smart buildings. I mean, there's so much going on in terms of smart buildings, HVACs, cameras, sensors, right? The same sort of list of applications go on. But rather than me talk about a lot of these examples, I'm just going to play a quick video that sort of brings all of this together, talks very specifically about how CareAR is actually working with enterprises in all of these different verticals. So here we go.